Well, happy Saturday, everyone. It is another Story Time Saturday where we get to continue to journey through juxtaposition with Style and Nasa, Clip, the Lady Blue, Curl Geyer, and all the other supporting cast. Glad to have you guys here with me. We are the true supporting cast because without us, what would be the point? So, thank you so much for being here with me. We'll dive in shortly, starting in chapter 7. Couple of things to talk about as we start into the stream tonight. The first being that let's go ahead and go over what happened in the last reading session on Tuesday. So it started with Style going into the final round of the tourney. He's made it all the way to the end. And he's going to face Rue, a 20-year veteran. She's on her 20th year of tenure, who has made it all the way to the finale with 0 losses. So, first match, she decides to take it and throw it into chance because why not? She has to lose twice to be out. Style only has to lose once. Why not throw it into chance? And it came up where they basically had to, put together numbers. And I want to say if it was an even number, it was Style. If Style wins, if it was an odd number, Rue wins. Well, came out that Style picked the 5 letters of his name. Rue picked the 3 letters of her name. Came out to 8. Style wins. No big thing there because now they're just evened up. So they go into the final round of the tourney where they now need to create a poem using some certain keywords off the top of their heads. And so they do so. And Style ends up, after a whole bunch of work, comes out with the win. So Style now gets the joy of being a citizen of Proton. So not only is he an adept of the planet Phase, but he is a citizen of Proton. Oh, happy days to Style. So we move on from there. He starts working through things with Sheen and getting things set up. And then he has to go back to Proton or to Phase because dun dun dun, he has to continue with his honeymoon. So they go back to, so we go into the next chapter, we go into Phase, and Style continues with his honeymoon. They leave the Frost Demons area and they start to travel down. They skip around Green Zone. They encounter some problems with some animal heads. They move on from there as they're fleeing there, and they basically get themselves lost in a forest, and the forest essentially starts attacking them. As a part of that, Style gets himself silenced, has essentially a silence spell cast upon him, and being that in order for him to cast magic, he needs to vocalize. He can't cast a spell to take it off of himself. Poor Style. So they find themselves more and more in trouble. Eventually, they get to they're moving through the forest. They end up having to skip in and out of Proton following the curtain, and they get to a hermit's hut. The hermit is unwilling to help them, and they determine that this hermit is the Orange Adept. And nothing they can do. The Orange Adept's just got plants coming in to attack and do nasty things to them. So, not much they can do about it. Clip goes off to try to find help, runs into a troll who says that he has to do a favor for the Blue Adept. And he has to take the Blue Adept that night to a plant. Clip tells him where the Blue Adept is. The troll digs his way through, comes up, leads the Lady Blue and Style to the plant. The Lady Blue says, "This is the plant I need. It's one half of the way to remove your silence spell." "What's the other half?" "The touch of a unicorn's horn." So they take it and they go back. The troll goes on his way. They go back. Style gets his voice back. He casts a spell to basically make the plants turn on the Orange Adept, and they peace out. They continue to travel along the curtain towards the West Pole. They run afoul. Well, I shouldn't say run afoul. They meet up with a giantess who they help to find her thimble. A giant 5-foot metal thimble that she couldn't find, but is huge for them. They go under the water, continuing to follow the curtain. They run into the translucent adept, whose lair is underneath the water. They run into him after a net falls on them and is basically magicking them down. Style can't magic them out of it because they are in the translucent adept's domain. So Clip squeezes on out. He goes and he gets the giantess, who comes and removes the net for him as a way of paying back for finding the thimble. Yay, giantess. And she takes them and she puts them on the island that the West Pole is on. Style finds out that there is likely a cabal of people after him. He does not know why. He found that out through interactions with the animal heads and the translucent adept. Continues on. They get to the West Pole, where two curtains cross at right angles. And Style sights down it, and sure enough, the Lady Blue was right. The curtain is entirely straight. It's the land of Fays that moves around. How weird. But that's the way, they like it. He also finds out that at the West Pole, both magic and science are operable. So he sets up a little hollow thing there so that way he can talk to the Lady Blue, because he has to go back now to start his stuff for citizenship. And she is going to camp out at the West Pole and wait for him. And that is where we will kick off our story for this evening. So, as always, we will continue to read, and I will continue to record this as we go through. I will answer any questions in between chapters as you may have them. If you don't have them, well, that's okay too. You are always welcome to chat amongst yourselves as the evening goes on. And I will be happy to chat with you after I finish each chapter. If you have missed any of the chapters, they are all available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius. The chapters that we read tonight will also be up on my YouTube channel by later this evening for your listening and viewing pleasure. So sit back, everybody, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive in to Juxtaposition, starting in Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Commitment. Sheen was waiting for him. "How was your honeymoon, sir?" she inquired with a certain emphasis. "Trouble with 2 other adepts, rescued by a troll and a giantess. A routine fare." "Obviously," she agreed wryly. "Are you ready to approve your new staff, sir? And your temporary economy residence?" There was that "sir" again. "I'd better, Sheen." She guided him to a citizen transport capsule. It was ordinary from the outside, but like a spaceship cabin inside. Through the port, a holograph of moving stars could be glimpsed. A rotund, balding serf walked up the aisle and stood at attention, wearing only a tall white hat. "Speak to him, sir," Sheen murmured. "Who are you?" Style asked. "Sir, I am Cookie, your chef." "I just happen to be hungry enough to eat a bear," Style said. The recent action and phase had taken his mind from food, causing him to miss a meal. "Immediately, sir." Cookie disappeared. Style blinked. "Oh, he's a hollow too." "Naturally, sir. There's not room in this capsule for a kitchen. We'll arrive in a few minutes, and he will have your meal ready." Another naked serf entered the spaceship. This one was an attractive older woman. Style raised an inquiring eyebrow. "I am Henrietta, your head house mistress, sir," she said primly. Style wondered what a head house mistress did, but decided not to inquire. She would not have hired her without reason. "Carry on, Henrietta," he said, and she vanished. Next was a middle-aged man, not much larger than Style himself. "I am Spade, your gardener, sir." "Sam Spade?" Style inquired with a smile, but the man did not catch the historical literacy allusion. Only a game specialist would be up on such minutiae. "Sir, only Spade, the gardener." "Of course, Spade." Style made a gesture of dismissal, and the man vanished. Next was a voluptuously proportioned young woman with black tresses flowing across her body to her knees. "Of her it is said, let the rose hang its head," Style murmured, conscious that the rhyme would work no magic here in Proton Frame. The girl took this as the signal to speak. "I am Dulcimer, your entertainer, sir." Style glanced at Sheen. "What kind of entertainment do you suppose I need?" Sheen was suppressing a smile in the best human fashion. "Deuce, show the citizen your nature." Dulcimer put both hands to her head, took hold of her ears, and turned her head sharply sideways. There was a click. Then the head lifted off her body. "At your service, sir." "A robot!" Style exclaimed. Then, more thoughtfully, "Are you by chance one of Sheen's friends?" "I am, sir," the robot head said. "Put yourself together," Style told her, and the head was lowered and twisted back into place. Style waved her away, and Dulcimer vanished. He turned seriously to Sheen. "Do you think this is wise?" "Sir, I cannot always guard you now. A citizen depends on no single serf, and you can use Dulce when I am not available." A machine concubine? Forget it. You know I have no present use for such things. Not since I married the Lady Blue. I know, sir, she agreed sadly. Yet you need protection, for you will be making rivals and perhaps enemies among citizens. It would not do for a citizen to take his cook or housemaid or gardener to social functions. But Dulcimer would be okay. Now I understand. He considered briefly, then decided to get his worst chore out of the way. Before we arrive, set up a privacy barrier. I want to talk to you. It is already in place. Others must not know that self-willed machines associate with you, sir. You can drop the sir when privacy is guaranteed, he said, a trifle sharply. You were never my inferior, Sheen. I was never your equal either, she said. What do you wish to say to me? Style nerved himself and plunged in. You know that I love only the Lady Blue. What went before is history. I have no jealousy of the Lady Blue. She is your perfect wife. She is my perfect woman. Before her, you were that woman. But I changed when I became the Blue Adept. The marriage is only a social convention applying to the frame of phase. Here in Proton, I remain single. Citizens do not have to marry, not even to designate an heir. I don't see your problem. Yet there are marriages of convenience, even among citizens. Especially among citizens. They marry for leverage, or to pool estates, or to keep a favored serf on Proton beyond his or her 20-year tenure. They hardly ever worry about love or sex or even appearance in that respect. Yet there are legal aspects, Style continued doggedly. The spouse of a citizen has certain prerogatives. Entirely at the pleasure of the citizen, she said. The spouse may be immune to tenure termination or molestation by other citizens, but the citizen can divorce that spouse merely by entering a note in the computer records. So it means nothing, unless the spouse is another citizen. It means the spouse is a person, for at least the duration of the marriage, Style said. A serf is already a person. Marriage to a citizen merely enhances status for a time. The main hope of serfs who marry citizens is that one of their children will be designated heir, since such a child shares the bloodline of the citizen. But there is no guarantee. Each citizen is his own law. Sometimes a citizen will designate the spouse as heir, Style said. She shrugged. All this is true, Style. But what is your point? I have it in mind to marry in Proton, and to designate my wife my heir. Oh, she pondered, her computer mind sorting through the implications. A marriage of convenience to protect your estate, not for love or sex or companionship. For all those things, in part, he said. What does the Lady Blue think of this? She suggested it. Though she is able to cross the curtain, she has no affinity for this frame, and no legal status in it. You say you have no jealousy of her? Neither does she have jealousy of you. Of me? Of course she doesn't. I'm a machine. Yes, but she regards you as a person. Now, with this basic understanding, He hesitated. You want me to locate a suitable bride of convenience for you. Not exactly, Sheen. I want you to be that bride. Don't be silly, Style. I'm a robot. You know that. I see I have to do it the hard way. Style got out of his comfortable chair. She started to rise, but he gestured her to remain seated. Style knelt before her, taking her hand. Lady Sheen, I ask your hand in marriage. I shouldn't be sensitive to humor of this sort, she said, but I must say I didn't expect it of you. Humor hell! Will you marry me? Machines were not readily surprised, but she was programmed to react in human fashion. She paled. You can't be serious. I am serious, and my knee is getting uncomfortable. Will you answer me? Style, this is impossible. I know what you are. You always bring it up when you're upset. I'm a citizen. I can do as I wish. I can marry whom I choose, for what reason I choose. She stared at him. You are serious. But the moment you tried to register me as, they would know my nature. They would destroy me. They would have to destroy me first. Answer. Style, why are you doing this? The mischief. I see I must answer you, since you will not answer me. If I marry you, you will be the wife of a citizen. By definition, a person. By extension, others of your type may then be considered persons. It is a wedge, a lever for recognition of the self-willed machines as serfs. This is a service I can do for them. It really is convenience, she said, using me to help my friends forward their case for recognition as people. Which would be even more potent if something put me out of the scene prematurely and thrust the onus of citizenship on you. True, she said. Is that my answer? Does true equate to yes? No, she snapped, jumping up. I don't want your title. I want your love. Style got off his knee silently. His love was one thing he could not offer her. In fact, I don't want your convenience, she continued, working up some unrobotic temper. I don't want the appearance without the reality. I don't want to be used. I don't propose to use you. I'm not talking about sex, she screamed. I would be happy for that. It's being used as a lever I object to. I'm sorry. I thought it was a good idea. You, in your flesh, male arrogance, to set me up as a mock wife, to be a lever, the simplistic machine I am. You thought because I love you, I'll do anything you want. After all, what pride can a mere machine have? What had he walked into? Style brought out his holo receiver and called the Lady Blue. The picture globe formed. Style turned it about until the Lady Blue came into view. She was brushing down Hin Blue. Lady, he said. She looked up. My lord? Sheen paused in her pacing. You're in touch with her? Aye, Lady Sheen, the Lady Blue answered, recognizing her voice. And easy it is to understand the nature of thy concern. I confess I put my lord up to it. I should have known, Sheen said, bemused. But this is a cynical thing, lady. Aye, lady, it is a cruel sacrifice for thee. That's not the point, lady, the sheer mischief. I apologize for putting thee in an untenable position, Lady Sheen. Thou hast every right to reject it. She gave Hin Blue another stroke, then addressed Style. My lord, I thought naught of her feeling, only of her merit. I wanted her as my sister in that frame, and that was selfish. Let her be. I love thee. She returned to the horse, dismissing him. Style turned off the holo. I guess that covers it, Sheen. He felt embarrassed and awkward. If it's any comfort, I felt about the same as you when she broached the notion. I do care for you. I always did. I just can't honestly call it love. I accept, Sheen said. You were generous to accept my apology. I wish I had not put you through this. Not the apology, the proposal. The... Remember way back when you proposed marriage? Style was amazed. I. Yes, that proposal. If you had the circuitry of a robot, you'd remember these details more readily. Perhaps if you practiced mnemonic devices. But why? You made such a good case against. She wants it, she said simply. That he could understand. He had proposed to Sheen because the Lady Blue wanted it. She had accepted for the same reason. Now they just had to hope it was a good idea. The capsule had come to a halt, the porthole showing a landing at a spaceport. Sheen keyed the door open. Style gaped. Outside lay the blue domain. No, of course it was the proton equivalent on the same geographic site, merely one of numerous examples of parallelism of frames. The castle and grounds looked the same as in phase, but there was no magic. Horses grazed and dogs ranged, not unicorns and werewolves. Still, it moved him. After the Lady Bluette died, her employer restored the property and put it on the market, Sheen explained. It was at a bargain price. I thought you'd like it. I do. Style stared at it a moment longer. But it's strange here. No Lady Blue, she said. It will be yours now. She was silent. Had he said the wrong thing? Well, either it would work out or it wouldn't. His chef had his meal waiting. Genuine imported roast of bear. Style made a mental note not to speak figuratively. As a citizen, he was too apt to be taken literally. He had said he could eat a bear. Now, he had to do it. Actually, it wasn't bad. The chef did know his business. Sheen had hired people of genuine competence. And now for your estate advisor, Sheen said, as Style chomped somewhat diffidently. You have some elegant financial maneuvering ahead. I'd rather master the rules of the game and lay it myself. This advisor is one of my friends. Oh, that was a different matter. The advisor turned out to be an old male serf, wrinkled, white-haired, and elegant. Style would not have known him for a robot had Sheen not informed him. It was evident that the self-willed machines had profited from what Sheen had learned in the course of her association with Style. Only time, expert observation, or direct physical examination betrayed his current associates. Style nodded affirmatively to the serf, and the man reported. Sir, I am Mellon, your financial accountant. Mellon, huh? Style repeated. As in Rockefeller, Carnegie, and DuPont? The serf smiled. Yes, sir. You're that good with money? Yes, sir. Then why are you here as a serf instead of making your fortune elsewhere in the universe? Style knew the robot had no future away from Proton, but a real serf would, and the cover story had to be good. Sir, I have already made my fortune elsewhere, Mellon said. I am as rich as a citizen, but here on Proton, the dynamics of wealth are most pronounced. The leverage of economics is exerted most openly. Only here can I experience the joy of renewed challenge, failure, and success. When my tenure expires, I shall return to my comfortable galactic estate and write my memoirs of the Proton experience. Style was impressed. This was a feasible rationale. It would explain the man's computerized competence. Style might even have to stave off efforts by other citizens to hire Mellon away. Except that since no real Mellon existed, any verification of his background would reveal. I am cast in the likeness of an actual person, sir, Mellon said, reading Styles' expression. The proceeds of my memoirs will go to him, in recompense for the use of his credentials. The machines had figured it out. Well, I hope you are not too disappointed in the experience you have managing my estate. I don't even know its extent. but I'm trusting you to multiply it for me rapidly.
I shall do so, sir. I must ask that you follow my advice and particulars with alacrity. There are likely to be difficult moments, but there is an 85% probability of accomplishing our objective.
Melon certainly seemed sure of himself. The machines had to have secrets that could be exploited for tremendous leverage. Styles suspected he should leave it alone, but his curiosity governed. How do you propose to make me rich, even by proton standards? Surely my section of the protonite mines can only produce so much.
By wagering, sir, you will be better informed than your opponents.
Because of the immense body of information accessible to the sapient machines. But it would be made to seem like human instinct and luck. No.
Sir?
To wager when one has an illicit advantage is not equitable. I do not care to make my fortune that way. He's like that, Mel, Sheen said smugly. Sir, without that advantage, the odds become prohibitive. I have surmounted prohibitive odds before. I shall not compromise my standards now. Presumably, you will be able to perform moderately well while limited to ethical means.
Yes, sir,
Mellon said grimly. Style completed his uncomfortable repast of bear steak. Then let's get to it now. I am not used to wealth. I fear this will be a chore for me. I want to get that chore out of the way and return to my private retreat. Even among his staff, he was not inclined to talk too freely of Faze. But first, Sheen? Sir, Sheen said immediately, by what mechanism do I promulgate my engagement to you? Application must be made to the records computer, sir. A citizen hearing will be arranged. And? That is all, sir. Marriages, births, designation of heirs, changes in estate holdings, all are merely a matter of accurate record. The hearing is a formality to make sure there is no foul play or confusion. No ceremony, blood tests, waiting periods? These are available if you wish them, sir, but they are not required for citizens and are irrelevant for robots. The entry in the record is all that is mandatory. Well, let's do this right. Let's set a date for a formal, medieval, Earth-style nuptial and invite the public. What date, sir? Style considered. There may be some mischief here. Let's give it time to clear. Set the date for 2 months hence, at which time you will become my wife and heir. Get yourself a pretty wedding outfit. Mellon coughed.
Sir, may I comment?
Comment, Style agreed.
The records computer will know Sheen is not a legal person. It will advise the members of the citizen panel. This will not interfere with the marriage, for a citizen may do what pleases him. He may marry a toad if he wants. But the designation of as heir to citizenship will complicate your own activities. If you could hold that aspect in abeyance...
That would be a lie, Style said. I intend to name her heir, and I want no deception about it. Yet he wondered at his own motive, since this was more than the Lady Blue had suggested. Why make a larger issue of it? And he answered himself, because he felt guilty about not being able to give Sheen his love, so he was giving her his position instead.
Yes, sir,
Mellon said submissively. Sir, he is correct, Sheen said. If you bring this mischief on yourself prematurely... I will not abuse my word, Style said firmly. The truth shall be known. Sir, I fear you will imperil yourself and us, she said. Rather than permit that, I shall decline to... Do you want me to call the Lady Blue again? Sheen hesitated. No, sir. So he had bluffed her out. How do I file my entry with the records computer? Sir, I can activate its receptor. Do so. She touched a button on the wall. Record, sir, a wall speaker said. I, Style, citizen, hereby announce my betrothal to the Lady Sheen. I will marry her 2 months hence in a public ceremony, and designate her to become my heir to citizenship effective that date. Any questions? Sir, are you aware that Sheen is a robot? The computer asked. I am aware. If you designate a non-person heir, your estate will, on your demise or abdication, revert to the common pool, sir. I challenge that, Style said. I want her to inherit. Then a special hearing will be necessary, sir. We already have a hearing. Juxtapose them. Schedule it at your earliest convenience. Yes, sir. The records computer disconnected. Now you have done it, sir, Sheen murmured. You and your unstable living human temper. We'll see. Let's get to the next event. They entered the capsule again, and Sheen programmed their destination. The smooth motion commenced. Style paid attention to none of this. He was already orienting on the wagering to come, much as he would do for a game of the tourney. He was not sure he had really left the challenge ladder. Perhaps he had merely achieved a new plateau for a new series of games. To wager. What are my present resources? He asked Melon. The initial estate of a citizen is set at 1 kilogram of protonite, sir, Melon said. Serfs do not deal in money, normally, so there is little way to equate this with what you have known. I know that a single ounce of protonite is supposed to be worth the entire 20-year tenure of the average serf, Style said. Yes, traditionally. Actually, this fluctuates as the variables of demand and technology change the need, though the Proton Council regulates the supply to keep the price fairly stable, much as the cartels of the galaxy have traditionally regulated the supplies of foregoing fuels, coal, oil, uranium, and such. Until supplies ran short, Style said, or until technology obviated the need. Efficient utilization of starlight and hydrogen fusion. These became virtually limitless resources. Indeed, sir. But starlight and fusion both require enormous initial capital investment. Though protonite is theoretically limited, it is so potent that it has become the fuel of choice for interstellar travel. Its value more closely resembles that of bullion gold than that of bygone oil. Gold, Style said. I have played with that in my historical researches. I have a fair notion of its value, as measured in archaic ounces. Then set 1 gram of protonite as equivalent to 400 troy ounces of gold, sir. 1 kilogram. 400,000 ounces of gold? Style finished, amazed despite himself. Enough to hire 1,000 serfs for full tenure, sir, Melon said. A fortune equivalent to that of many of the historically wealthy persons of Earth. That is your minimum share of citizenship. Wealthy citizens control the equivalent of as much as a ton of protonite, so are richer than any historical figure. I see that, Style agreed, somewhat awed. He had known citizens were exceedingly rich, but still had underestimated the case. And I must become one of those wealthy ones. You must become the wealthiest citizen, sir, Melon agreed. Only then can you be reasonably secure against the forces that may be brought to bear. Our target is 2 metric tons of protonite. That's 2,000 kilograms, Style exclaimed. Precisely, sir. There have been wealthier citizens in the past, but at present none go beyond this level. Only extraordinary expertise can bring you to this. Expertise, yes. Illicit information. Yes, sir. And how much of my single, insignificant kilogram may I employ for gambling? 3/4 of it, sir. You must, by Proton custom that has the force of law, maintain a floor of 250 grams for normal household use. Some household? That's 100,000 ounces of gold. True, sir. No citizen is poor by galactic standards. I seem to remember Sheen telling me that no citizen could get more than 2 years' income in arrears.
That is an optional guideline for the conservative.
I see. But I can't afford to be conservative, can I? And if I gamble and lose, so I'm stuck at the floor level, then what?
Your share is not a literal kilogram, sir, but rather the equivalent in continuing production from the protonite mines. In time, perhaps a year, you will have an income of 10 to 20 additional grams, enough to maintain a modest estate without depleting your principal.
Oh, I wouldn't want to deplete my principal, Style said, feeling giddy. Even a citizen's small change vastly exceeded his expectation. Still, to build a stake of 750 grams up to an estate of 2,000 kilograms, that will take rapid doubling and redoubling.
Certainly, sir, and we shall not be risking all of your discretionary funds. Reverses are to be expected. I recommend an initial limit of 100 grams per wager.
And your recommendation is my law.
Yes, sir, in this respect, except
that I will handle the substance of the wagers myself, drawing on none of your computer information. I presume you feel this makes me likely to fail.
Yes, sir, Mellon said unhappily. I have considerable strategic resource, were it permissible for use.
Were it not the way I am, your kind would not have trusted me to keep your secret.
Yes, sir.
But considerable disapproval was conveyed in that acquiescence. Very well. Let's review this matter. You have the entire information bank of the planetary computer network available to you. The average wagering citizen does not. Would you consider it fair play for us to use this? I submit that it represents an unfair advantage, and to use it would be dishonest.
Citizens have few restrictions, sir. They may draw on any available facilities. I think it likely that some will seek to take advantage of your inexperience. Turnabout may be considered fair play.
Very well. If I encounter a citizen who is trying to take unfair advantage, I'll draw on your information to turn the tables. But I'll balk at anything I deem to be unethical. I will cheat only the cheaters.
Understood, sir. It would be unwise to seem to follow the advice of a serf too slavishly.
Evidently, the issue of personal integrity still eluded the robot. Yes, a citizen must keep up arrogant appearances. Now Sheen, who had remained scrupulously clear of this discussion, rejoined it. I am sure you will have no difficulty, sir. She was a machine, but she was programmed for human emotion. How much did she resent the use he was making of her? The event they attended turned out to be a routine citizens' ball. Sheen and Mellon, as favored servitors, were permitted to accompany Style, but they kept subserviently behind him. At the entrance, they outfitted Style with a suitable costume for the occasion, a seemingly cumbersome ancient spacesuit, puffed out around the limbs with huge joints at the elbows and knees, and a translucent helmet bubble. Actually, the material was very light and did not hamper movement at all. They entered the ballroom, and Style was amazed. It was outer space in miniature. Stars and planets, somewhat out of scale, comets and nebulae and meteors and dust clouds. The motif was not remarkable, but the execution was spectacular. The stars were light without substance, holographically projected, but they looked so real he was fearful of getting burned if he floated too near. For he was floating, in effect, on the invisible floor. The soles of his space boots were padded so that his footsteps made no sound. Citizens in assorted varieties of spacesuits floated in groups, their serf servitors like satellites. One spotted him and moved across. It was the rifleman. I see you were mixing in, Style. Excellent. Let me introduce you to key figures. What is your preference? Romance, camaraderie, or mischief? Mischief, Style said, grateful for the man's help. I want to make some wagers. Oh, that kind. It's the gamesmanship in your blood. I know the feeling well. But we have some high rollers here. They'll strip you down to your minimum estate in short order, if you let them. You can never bet all your wealth, you know. Computer won't allow any citizen to wipe out. Bad for the image. I understand. I have a competent monetary advisor. You will need him. I warn you, Style. There are barracuda in these waters. Best to play penny ante until you get to know them. By the same token, though, the barracuda would get to know him and his advisor. That would not do. He needed to score rapidly before others grew wary. What is considered penny ante here? 1 gram of protonite. That was all I was worth a few days ago. The rifleman smiled. I, too, in my day. Times change, citizen. This is a whole new world. I hope not to do anything foolish before I acclimatize. Oh, by all means, do be foolish, the rifleman said encouragingly. It is expected of all new citizens. You are the novelty of the day. Enjoy it while you can. All this time, the rifleman had been guiding Style across the miniature galaxy. Now they came to a group of space-suited citizens hovering near a large, dark nebula. The men were rotund and unhandsome. Rich living had shaped them to porcine contours that even the ballooning suits could not ameliorate. This disgusted Style. He knew that they could easily have kept their weight down by consuming diet food that tasted identical to the calorific food, or by having reductive treatments. Apparently, they just didn't care about appearances. But the two women were a striking contrast. One was an hourglass, her breasts like pink melons, her waist so tiny, Style knew that surgery had reduced it, her hips resurging enormously, tapering into very large but well-contoured legs. Style found this exaggeration of female traits unpleasant, but even so, it had its impact upon him. Her breasts swelled like the tides of an ocean as she breathed, and her hips shifted elevation precipitously as she walked. Her suit was only remotely related to space. Most of it was transparent, and much of the front was mere netting. It seemed to Style that in real space, those enormous mammaries would detach explosively and fly outward like the rings of gas and dust from old supernova. But she had a pretty face, almost elfin, surely the handiwork of a fine plastic surgeon. The other woman was decorously garbed in an opaque cloth-type suit that covered every portion of her body. Her head was encased in a translucent bubble that shadowed her face and lent enticing mystery to her expression. She seemed almost too young to be a citizen, but of course, there was no age limit. The rifleman introduced the whole group, but the names of the men bounced off Styles' awareness like rainwater. Only the two women registered consciously. He had never before heard the name of a female citizen, and it affected him with an almost erotic force. Fulsa, with the fulsome figure, the rifleman was concluding, and Merle, known to her illustrious enemies as the Blackbird. Illustrious enemies? Blackbird? If this were not mere posturing, this was a citizen to be wary of. The two women nodded as their names were spoken. You're the new franchisee, aren't you? Fulsa inquired. Yes, sir, Style said, then visibly bit his tongue. Both women smiled. I'd like to wager, the rifleman said. He's a game. The male citizen stood back, curious but not participating, as if more intrigued by the manner in which the females would handle this upstart than by the prospect of making some profit. Anything, Fulsa. Choose your mode, Bantam. There was that ubiquitous reference to his size. He would probably never be free of such disparagement. No sense in letting it rattle him. He had what he wanted, someone to wager with. Styles' imagination suddenly deserted him. Small to start. Very small. And simple. Her gaze traversed him merrily. For a simple, small man. Agreed. Was that another cut at him? Probably not. It was evident that citizens treated each other very casually. What did they have to prove? They were all elite. Or maybe this was part of his intuition. The watching males gave no sign. Scissors, paper, rock? Style asked, casting about for something suitable and drawing no inspiration from the environment. Without the game's preliminary grid, he lacked notions. A non-contact game, she said, as if surprised. Now one of the watching males nodded at another, as if the two had made a bet on the matter that had now been decided. So that was the nature of their interest, to wager on Styles' performance with the voluptuous woman. No doubt many men sought to get close to her on one pretext or another. This actually encouraged Style. He was beginning to grasp the situation. Small and simple, he repeated. Shall we say 1 gram, doubled every round, 7 rounds, Fulsa suggested. Style glanced at Melon, who made an almost imperceptible nod of assent. The final bet would fall within the limitation, though the total amount of the series would not. These citizens were indeed a fast crowd. Again one of the males nodded, having a point decided. What level Style was playing at. Mind if I call the throws? The rifleman asked. On the count of 2, spaced 1 second. Late throw means default, which Merle will call. For 1 gram of protonite. On your mark. 1, 2. Style, caught off guard by this ready procedure, put out his forked fingers a shade late. Fulsa was there with a flat hand. Default? Merle said, her voice soft, like dusk wind in pines. Agreed, Style said, embarrassed. He had made the winning throw, too late. Some beginning. He had already thrown away the 20-year ransom of 1 serf. For 2 grams, the rifleman said. 1, 2. This time Style was on time, with scissors again. Fulsa also showed scissors. No decision, Merle breathed. Style marveled that it could really be this simple. He had thought of citizens as a class apart, devoted to pursuits beyond the comprehension of mere serfs. But in fact, citizens were serf-like in their entertainment. Or so it seemed so far. The rifleman continued without pause. Balance of 1 gram to Fulsa. For 4 grams. 1, 2. Styles' mind was racing as he warmed to the game. Theoretically random, these combinations were actually not. Each person was trying to figure the strategy of the other. Style himself was very good at analyzing patterns and moods. He did it almost instinctively. The first throw had been random. The normal course for an inexperienced person would be to go on the next throw to whatever choice had won before. Thus, Fulsa had gone from paper to scissors. Style testing had held firm. Did he have the pattern solved? If so, Fulsa would go next to the stone. So he would match that, verifying. The early bets were for analyzing. The later ones counted. Even as this flashed through his mind, his hand was flinging out the closed fist. Fulsa mashed his stone. No decision, Merle said. It seemed they did not play these over, but just continued the series. For 8 grams. 1, 2. This time Style went for the win. He expected Fulsa to go for paper, to wrap the last throw stone. So he threw scissors again, and won. Scissors cuts paper. Style wins, Merle announced. Balance of 7 games to Style. The rifleman said. For 16 grams. 1, 2. Would the hourglass lady citizen be foolish enough to go for stone again, fighting the last war too late? Or would she stick with paper, expecting him to go for stone? Style decided to play her for the fool. He threw out the flat hand, and won. Paper wraps stone. Style, Merle said. Balance of 23 grams to style, the rifleman said. I warned you girls he was a gamesman like me. He can play. For 32 grams. 1, 2. Style continued the fool play, throwing out the closed fist. Fulsa threw the forked fingers. She winced as she saw the combination. Stone crushes scissors. Style wins. Merle smiled within her dusky helmet. Evidently, these people enjoyed a good challenge. You beat me with the ones I lose with, Fulsa exclaimed. That was another way of looking at it. He had cut her paper, then shifted to paper and wrapped her stone, then had his stone crush her scissors. The losing throws became the winners of the next throw. Beginner's luck, Style said apologetically. One of the males snorted. His mind is on the wager, not her body, he murmured. Balance of 55 grams to Style, the rifleman said. For 64 grams, 1, 2. Fulsa had caught on to his pattern. Had she the wit to take advantage of it? This single throw could reverse the entire game. Style thought she would not learn quickly enough, so he threw scissors, trusting her to throw paper. She did. Scissors cuts paper. Style wins, Merle said. He sure cuts your paper, the male citizen remarked to Fulsa with satisfaction. He had evidently won his private bet on the outcome of this contest. Balance of 119 grams to Style. End of series, the rifleman said. So entered in the credit record. Style is in stake by more than fleecing his first unit. Analysis, he lost 1, drew 2, and won 4. Was this luck or skill? Skill, Merle said. He is a master gamesman, as is unsurprising. Fulsa shrugged, and her torso undulated in vertical stages. There are other games. Dear, the rifleman said with a reproving smile. You had your crack at him and lost, as I did in the tourney. If you want to seduce him, you'll have to wait your next turn. Now he enters the second round. Second round? Style asked. This time all the male citizens chuckled. Merle tapped herself lightly between her muted breasts. Do you dare to try your skill with me, serf citizen? I do still have the urge, Style said, catching Melon's affirmative nod. But he felt uneasy. He now perceived that Merle was not nearly as young as she had first seemed. In fact, she was somewhat older than he, and her manner was that of a completely self-assured person. She was probably a power among citizens, one of the barracuda he had been warned against. But he would have to tackle this kind sometime. Then let us play a hand of poker, she said. The serfs hastily brought a pack of playing cards, poker chips, an opaque table, and chairs. The rifleman took the cards, spread them out, and pronounced them fit to play with. Style believed him. No one got through the tourney without being expert with cards. Why should citizens cheat? They needed neither money nor fame, and cheating would destroy the natural suspense of gambling. But Style was nervous about this game. Poker players were a breed apart, and a citizen poker player whose facial features were shrouded by a translucent helmet could be more of a challenge than Style could handle at the moment. Yet Style was good at poker, as he was in most games. He certainly should have a fighting chance, even against an expert, if he didn't run afoul of his betting limit. Limits could be devastating in poker. Merle has chosen the game, the rifleman said. Style may choose the rules. Standard 52-card pack. No wild cards. Standard wider galaxy force, hands in force. Betting. Sorry, Style, the rifleman interjected. You may not dictate the pattern of betting. That choice reverts to her, by citizen custom. Of course I will honor citizen custom, Style said. But I have hired a serf to supervise my estate, and he wants me to stay clear of large bets until I know my way around. So I might have to renege on the game if... A sensible precaution, Merle said. Seat your serf to the side. You may consult with him while betting." "That is gracious of you, Merle," Style said, forcing himself to speak her name, though his lifetime of surf conditioning screamed against it. "Please, in compensation, name the variant you prefer." "Certainly, Style. Are you familiar with Lover's Quarrel?" "Oops. I do not know that variant," Style admitted. "It is a variety of draw. Each player must draw from the hand of the other, one card at a time, which hand is replenished by the dealer. Betting occurs after each draw, until one player stands pat." Some variant. This had the double stress of involuntary loss of cards from one's hand, and the opponent's knowledge of an increasing portion of that hand. At some point, they both should know what each other had, but that would not necessarily make betting easier. They took seats at the table, the rifleman serving as dealer. Style glanced at the knot of spectators. The males watched with poker faces, obviously intent on the proceedings. Mellon and Sheen stood impassively, but Style knew that Sheen, at least, was controlling her emotional circuitry with difficulty. She loved him and wanted to protect him, and here she could not. This was also outside Mellon's bailiwick. There was no way for him to draw on computer information to give Style an advantage, and that was the way Style preferred it. This was an honest game. The rifleman dealt 5 cards to each. Style picked up his hand, holding it together so that only the bottom card showed, and that was concealed from all external view by his casually cupped hands. He riffled once through the corners, his trained eye photographing the hand and putting it mentally in order. Ace of spades, 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 4 of clubs, 2 of clubs. A pair of tens. That was not much. In a 2-player game, the odds were marginally in favor of this being high, but he would have similar odds on the flip of a coin. He did not want to bet on this. "The lady may draw first," the rifleman said. "Thank you, Rife," Merle said. She discarded 1 card face down. "I will take your center card, Style, if you please." Style spread his hand without looking and lifted out the center card. It was the 10 of diamonds. There went his pair already. The rifleman dealt Style a replacement card. It was the 6 of hearts. Now he had only ace high, a likely loser. 1 ounce, she said. The rifleman slid a white poker chip across to her, and she touched it to the center of the table. So that was the unit of currency. Safely penny ante after all. Relieved, Style discarded his 10 of hearts, to keep his opponent from getting it and having a pair, and asked for Merle's left end card, which in a conventional arrangement might be her high one. Of course, it wasn't. She had not arranged her cards physically either. Too much could be telegraphed that way. It was a jack of clubs. Now he had ace of spades, 6 of hearts, jack of clubs, 4 of clubs, 2 of clubs. Perhaps 3 legs of a flush, if he didn't lose his clubs to Merle's drawings. But he had to call, raise, or drop. He was unwilling to quit so early, so he called, contributing 1 white chip. Merle discarded another and drew his ace. She was having an uncanny luck in destroying his hand. Then she added a red chip to the pot. She was raising the ante. 5 more grams. The rifleman passed Style another replacement card. It was the king of clubs. Now Style had 4 clubs, almost a flush. A full flush would very likely win the pot. Only one hand in 200 was a flush. But by the same token, flushes were hard to come by. Merle would have 4 chances in 5 to steal away one of his clubs on her next turn. Should he call or fold? He looked at Mellon. The serf nodded affirmatively, approving the bet. So Style discarded the 6 of hearts, drew another card for Merle, and got the ace of spades back. Disappointed, he matched the red chip. Merle frowned faintly within her helmet, and Style was frustrated again, unable to gauge her true mood. With an unfamiliar game variant and an unfamiliar opponent, he could exercise little of his natural skill. A person's eyes could tell a lot. If the pupils widened, the hand was positive, but her pupils were shadowed by that translucency. She took another card, his king of clubs. He got an 8 of spades from the pack. Already his promised flush was fading, as he had feared. His hand still amounted to nothing. Merle put in a blue chip, another 10 grams. That brought her total up to 16 grams of protonite. At the rate she was raising the ante, he could not afford to let this game continue too long. But he would surely lose if he stood pat now. She must have amassed at least one pair. He wanted to make a good showing, so that other citizens would want to make wagers with him. Style decided to keep trying for the flush. Therefore, he discarded his ace of spades, reckoning it too risky to hold for her possible ray acquisition, and drew from Merle. His original 10 of diamonds. No good to him at all at this stage, since he had discarded his matching 10 before. Again, he matched her bet, though he thought it would have been smarter to drop. She probably had 10 times as much wealth to gamble with as he did. If Melon knew how weak Styles' hand was, the serf would hardly have tolerated this bet. Merle took his jack of clubs, further decimating his flush, and she put 5 more blue chips into the pot. 66 grams total. She surely had a good hand now. Style accepted the replacement card, the 6 of spades. Now his hand was 8 and 6 of spades, 10 of diamonds, and 4 and 2 of clubs. No pairs, no flush, no high card. And a monstrous ante racing him if he wanted to keep playing. Then something clicked. He had almost missed the forest for the trees. "I stand pat on this hand," Style announced. "Advisor, may I bet my limit?" Melon agreed reluctantly. Style put 8 blue chips and 4 white ones into the pot, bringing his total to 100 grams. Now it was Merle's turn to call or fold. She would not raise during his turn. Would she be bluffed out? She called, putting in another 34 grams. She laid down her hand, face up. "Blaze," she said. 2 kings, 2 queens, 1 jack. That meant she had to have had at least 1 pair last round, perhaps 2 pairs, beating him. She had waited until she had what she wanted, a pat hand, all court cards. She had played with nerve. But Style had beaten her. "Skip straight," he said, laying it out. 10 high. There it was. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This hand was not as strong as a straight, but was stronger than any of the other hands from 3 of a kind down. "Very nice, Style," she agreed. "The pot is yours." She made a little gesture of parting and walked away. "He took her," one of the male citizens said. "That's 1 kilo for me." Another nodded glumly. "Very nice indeed," the rifleman said. "You have added another 100 to your estate. It is so recorded." A total of 219 grams of protonite added to his original 1,000, in the course of just 2 supposedly penny ante games. But Style knew he could just as readily lose it again. Melon approached as the group of citizens dispersed. "Sir, you must desist now." "I'll be glad to. But what is the reason? I thought you would stop me from betting before." "This is the bait, sir. Now the serious bettors will seek you out." The serious bettors. Of course. Style had, as it were, dipped his toe. He needed to announce himself so that he could step into the real action, where the upper limit would rise. Obviously, a gain of 219 grams was statistically insignificant compared with the 2,000 kilograms that was his target level. He had won only 1/10,000th of his stake. This would be as difficult as a climb as it had been through the levels of the tourney. Yet Melon was not concerned about the luck of individual wagers. He had a certain program of challenge planned. His limit on Style's initial betting had been merely to prevent Style from losing his stake in the course of making himself known to the key wagering clientele. "Did I hear correctly?" Style asked the rifleman. Did one of the spectators bet a full kilogram of protonite on the outcome of my game with Merle?
He did, the rifleman agreed. Citizens bet on anything.
10 times what I bet, and he wasn't even playing.
The rifleman smiled. That's the way it is. Your advisor protected you from getting into that level too soon. Come on, there's more than wagering to get into.
Style allowed the rifleman to show him around some more. There were different levels and slants and curves to the invisible floor, with refreshments on one tier, dancing on another, and conversation on a third. Coupled with the ubiquitous holographic astronomy, the effect was potent. This was a wonderland, as impressive in its lavish expense as in its execution. Yet the citizens, long used to this sort of thing, ignored the setting and socialized among themselves.
You do get accustomed to it, the rifleman said, divining Styles' thoughts. This is merely a standard social occasion, a kind of citizen concourse, where any can come for idle entertainment and socializing on an amicable plane. All comforts and amusements are available at every citizen's private residence, but they get bored. Of course, they have hollow contact, but you can't touch a hollow, or push it aside, or make love to it.
You say that, Style observed. I'm still a serf at heart.
You'll be the same. The citizens do not discriminate against our kind. To do so would be to dishonor their system. But we discriminate against ourselves, internally. We react to what is beneath their notice. Look there, for instance.
He gestured upward. Style looked. Above them was a transparent spaceship, inside which citizens were dancing. The men wore archaic black-tailed coat costumes, the women white blouses and slippers and voluminous skirts. From this nether vantage he could see right up their prettily moving legs, under their skirts where the white bloomers took over. Style had gotten used to nakedness in Proton and to clothing in Phase, but this halfway vision was intensely erotic for him. He did have some acclimatizing to do, lest he embarrass himself. Again, the rifleman was with him in spirit.
Yet, we see excellent distaff flesh all about us, unconcealed,
he pointed out, indicating Sheen, who remained respectfully behind. Style glanced back. Sheen was indeed the perfect figure of a young woman, with lovely facial features, fine, large, upstanding breasts, and torso and legs that could hardly be improved upon. In terms of appearance, she was stunning, far prettier than the exaggerated lady citizen Fulsa, yet she did not excite him sexually. This was not because he knew she was a machine, he decided. The robot was more human and caring than most flesh women he knew. It was because she was a naked serf. Sheen had no secrets, so lacked novelty. In contrast, the peek up the skirts of the dressed ladies above, that literally clothed his fancy and set his pulse racing.
But the average citizen can look and yawn, the rifleman said, glancing again at the skirts above. Clothing is no novelty here. Nothing is novelty, except assured victory in an honest game of chance. You made Merle's day just now. You were an unknown quantity, giving her the thrill of uncertainty.
That reminded Style. Just how old is she, and how much of her fortune would 100 grams of protonite represent, if it's not uncouth to inquire?
The fortunes of all citizens are a matter of public record. She's worth about 10 kilos. I can get the precise figure for the moment, if you wish. The records computer.
No need. So my wager did not hurt her.
Not at all. Age is also on record. Merle is 61 years old. She's had rejuvenation, of course, so she has the face and body of a serf girl of 30. But her mind is old. I dare say she knows more about sex than you and I combined.
Style had noticed that most citizen women were physically attractive, in contrast with the men. Rejuvenation would, of course, account for this. It would not prolong life significantly, but it would make a person seem young on the day he died of age. The vanity of women caused them to go down this route. Style turned to the rifleman. I thank you for your courtesy of your time. You have facilitated my education. Now I think I will go home and assimilate my impressions, if I may do so without offense to this gathering. No offense. You have made your appearance and performed on stage. All interested citizens have had their opportunity to examine you. Go relax, Style. I really did not meet many citizens. I suppose I'm not much of a novelty. The rifleman smiled. Allow me to detain you for one more thing. He led Style to an especially thick dust cloud. Just within its opacity was a control panel. A touch on this, and an image formed above. Style playing poker with Merle. The view shifted perspective as if the camera were dollying around, showing Style from all sides. An inset showed the poker hands of each, changing as the play progressed. I've been recorded, Style exclaimed. Exactly, the rifleman agreed. All interested citizens are able to tune in on you, or on any other person here. This is open territory, unprivate. He touched the controls again, and another view of the dancing citizens appeared. So-called X-ray views are also available for those who wish. Now the skirts and bloomers faded out, leaving the citizens dancing naked, looking exactly like serfs. Style was alarmed. You mean viewers can strip me like that? Holographically? He was concerned about exposure of his physical reaction when viewing the inner skirts before. Indeed. Voyeurism is a prime citizen pastime. That particular thrill never seems to become passé. Style sighed inwardly. He surely had provided the voyeurs some innocent entertainment today. I appreciate your advising me, he said, somewhat faintly. Welcome, Style. I thought you would want to know. Citizenship is not completely idyllic, and there are many ways to be savaged unknowingly. Many citizens prefer the complete privacy of their domes. I can see why. And on that amicable note, they parted. Back in his transparent capsule, Style relaxed. It had actually been a joke on him, he decided, and harmless. The citizens had really looked him over and found him human. He would be more alert in future. But the joke had not finished. A call came into the travel capsule. When he acknowledged, the head of Merle formed. Without her space helmet, she was revealed as a rather pretty young woman, with the same delicate rondure to her facial features as had been suggested by her suit-shrouded torso. I have decided I like you, Style, she said. Would you care for an assignation? What? He asked awkwardly. She laughed. Oh, you are so refreshing. It has been decades since I've had a truly naive man. The scope of the image expanded to reveal the upper half of her body hanging in the air before him like a statuette, her small but excellent breasts shrouded by a translucent shawl. She must have viewed the holographic record of Styles' recent experience and grasped his susceptibility to partial clothing on women. You can see that I am moderately endowed, but please accept my assurance that I am expert with what I have. Style proved his naivete by blushing. Sir, you catch me unprepared. She actually clapped her hands in glee. Oh, absolute delight! I must have you. I can't say I care to have holographs made of me performing in such a situation, Styles said, his face burning. Merle pursed her lips. But holos are the best part of it, so that one can review the occasion at proper leisure and improve technique. Out of range of the holo pickup, Sheen signaled imperatively. She did not want Style to offend the citizen. Mellon nodded agreement. Style took their advice. Merle, as you can see, I'm flattered to the point of confusion. This is more than I can handle right now. Would you grant me a stay of decision? Gladly, Style, she agreed merrily. I will contact you tomorrow. Some stay. Thank you, he said, conscious that his blush had intensified. He was 35 years old and hardly inexperienced with women, but his underlying awe of citizens had betrayed him. The moment the connection terminated, he snapped, "Block off all other calls. I don't want any more of that." "We dare not block off citizen calls," Sheen said, "but I'll ask my friends to make an inoffensive excuse message for you and filter out as much as possible." "Thanks." He caught her hand. "You're beautiful, Sheen." "I wish I could move you the way Citizen Merle did," she grumbled. "She moved me to naked terror." "Naked, yes. Terror, no." "She's a 60-year-old woman." "In that respect, I cannot compete. I was made less than a year ago." That reminded him. "Sheen, has there been any progress on your origin? Have your friends discovered who sent you to me and why?" "I will query them," Sheen said, but paused. "Oops, a call. I told you I don't want from her." There was only one person Sheen referred to that way. "Oh, put her on, of course." The image formed. The Lady Blue faced him. "My lord, I dislike bothering thee, but I fear mischief." "What mischief?" he demanded, instantly concerned. The Lady Blue was no more beautiful, by objective standards, than Sheen, but she had completely captured his love. It bothered him to have the fact so evident in Sheen's presence, but there really was no way to avoid it in this situation. "Clip says he wins ogres." She glanced nervously about. "We know not why such creatures would be on the Isle of the West Pole." "I'll rejoin thee," Style said. "Nay, my lord. Clip will guard me from harm. I merely advise thee, just in case any difficulty arises." "Very well," he agreed reluctantly. "But if there is any sign of menace, call me right away. It will take me a while to reach phase." "I love thee, Lord Blue," she said, flashing her smile, making the air about her brighten. Style always liked that magic effect. She faded out. "Nevertheless," Style said grimly to Sheen, "I want to get closer to a curtain crossing point, or anywhere along the curtain. Once I step across, I can spell myself immediately to the West Pole." Melon was looking at him strangely. Style smiled. "Have Sheen fill you in more thoroughly. You machines need to know this. I go to a world of magic, where I have a lovely wife and am important." Yes, sir," Melon said dubiously. "I trust this will not interfere with your program of estate development." "Please infer no insult from this," Style told him. "But if my Lady Blue is in danger, my entire citizen estate can drop into deep space without a ship." "Thank you for clarifying your priorities, sir," Melon said stiffly. "Oh, don't be stuffy," Sheen reproved the other robot. "You have to take Style on his own peculiar terms." "Of course, he is a citizen." She turned to Style. "My friends have a report." "Let's have it." Style was discovering that a lot of business could be done on the move. The image of a desk robot appeared. "Sir, the machine of your inquiry was purchased by Citizen Calder 10 weeks ago, programmed to love and protect the serf Style, and sent to said serf." "But why?" Style demanded. "Why should a citizen make an anonymous and expensive gift to a serf he does not employ?" "That information is not available, sir. I suggest you contact Citizen Calder." The image faded. "At least now I have a name," Style said. He pondered briefly. "How much does a robot cost?" "Approximately 5 grams of protonite, sir," Melon replied. "This is my own value, which is typical for the type." "That is quintuple the 20-year hire of a serf," Style said. "Maybe peanuts for a citizen, but still out of proportion for a throwaway gift." Easier to send a surf bodyguard. Another thought occurred. Has my own estate been docked that amount for you and the other special personnel?
We are rented, sir, Melon said, by special arrangement.
That meant that these self-willed machines had set it up. They were covertly helping him so that he could help them. What do your friends think of our engagement, Sheen? Sir, they are amazed to the extent their circuitry and programming permit. This changes the situation, giving them the chance for recognition much sooner than otherwise. There are grave risks, but they are willing to follow this course. Good enough. I would like to secure your recognition as serfs, not merely because of the help your kind has given me at critical moments, but because I believe it is right. Though, if each of you costs 5 grams, I don't know how it could be economic for you to work for serfs' wages.
We can last several times as long as the tenure of a serf, Melon replied. Once we achieve recognition, there will be a premium for the services we can offer. Properly programmed, we could be superior serfs, performing the routine functions of several. Since we do not sleep, we can accomplish more in a given tenure. The protonite that powers us is equivalent in value to the food that living serfs consume, and our occasional necessary repairs equate to live person illness. We feel we shall be economic, but even if we are not, we shall at least have the opportunity to play the game legitimately, and perhaps some few of our number will advance to citizenship. That prospect is more important to us than mere service as serfs.
So I gather, Style agreed. He liked these intelligent machines. He trusted them more than he did many living people, partly because they remained simpler than people. A robot could be deceitful if programmed to be, but what was the point of such programming? Mainly, he liked their loyalty to him, personally. They trusted him, so aided him, and he knew they would never betray him. Sir, do you wish me to place a call to Citizen Calder? Sheen inquired. Yes, do it. But at that moment there was another call from the Lady Blue. The ogres are closing in on us, my lord, she said worriedly. I was not sure before that we were the object of their quest, but now that seems likely. I mislike bothering thee, but... I'm on my way, Style cried. Sheen, reroute this tub to the nearest intersection with the curtain. Forget about the call to the citizen. I'll tackle that later. Yes, sir, she said. The capsule shifted motion. And Chapter 6 is in the bag. What do you guys think of Styles' initial foray into the bounds of citizenship? He finds himself engaged to the Lady Sheen. He made some wagers and won them. And is overall making himself out to be a good and worthwhile citizen. Tons of fun. All right. And now we're going to jump into Chapter 7. Why is there not a title on this chapter? Oh, there. Silly book. Let's go see. Chapter 7. No, there's not a title here either. Weird. All right. I have to go look it up. Wait one while I look up. Let's see if this has it. No, I wonder if there's just not a chapter title on this. I'm in another spot looking, and there's not a title. Let me try one last place. How very weird. Let's see if this will have. Ah, 7 is called Hostage. All right. Weird that my book didn't have it in it. But hey, I live in a world of reality, even though I read about a world of fantasy. So, let's go ahead and get ourselves into the next chapter, shall we? Yeah, and I looked up another spot that had summaries and it had the titles of all the chapters, and chapter 7 had no title on it. So maybe it's a thing out there in some of the ebooks that it was just missing. Who knows? Oh well, we've got it now. Here we go. Let's dive in for chapter 7, shall we? Chapter 7, Hostage. The image of the Lady Blue remained. Style worked as unit controls to survey the area, looking outward from the West Pole. In a moment, he spied an ogre. It was a large, hugely muscled humanoid creature, strongly reminiscent of Style's late friend Hulk. Style felt a pang at the memory. Hulk had been an intelligent, sensitive, considerate man, a gamesman like Style himself, but he had been betrayed and murdered by Style's enemy. Style had sworn an oath of vengeance, which he had implemented in his fashion, but that had not restored his friend. In any event, the resemblance was superficial. The ogre's face was a gross, muddy morass of nose and mouth, with 2 little eyes perched slightly above. The ears dangled down like deflated tires. Chip changed to man form and approached the creature. "Ogre, why dost thou come here?" the unicorn inquired. "Blue be mine enemy," the creature croaked. Its open mouth was like that of a frog with triangular teeth. "Blue is not thine enemy," the lady called. "Blue had a friend who was very like an ogre. Blue never harmed thy kind. Why dost thou believe ill of him now?" "This says..." Another oracular. Style distrusted this. So did the Lady Blue. "Another message was altered, methinks, to make Blue seem villain. Art thou sure?" But the ogre, dim of wit, roared and charged, making the ground tremble by the fall of its feet. Its ham fist swung forward like a wrecking ball. Ogres simply were not much for dialogue. "I've got to get there," Style cried. "We are not yet at the curtain, sir," Sheen said. "It will be another 10 minutes." Style clenched his teeth and fists, watching the scene in phase. Clip shifted back to his natural form and launched himself after the ogre. The Lady Blue, no fainting flower in a crisis, stepped nimbly aside. Ogre and unicorn lunged past her, Clip placing himself between the other two. The ogre braked, its huge hairy feet literally screeching against the turf. But as it oriented on the lady, the unicorn barred the way. The ogre massed perhaps 1,000 pounds. The unicorn, small for his species, was about the same. The ogre's ham fists were deadly, but so was the unicorn's pointed horn. It was a momentary standoff. Then a second ogre appeared. "Look out behind thee, lady!" Style cried. She heard him and whirled. The second ogre's 2 ham hands were descending on her head. The lady ducked down and scooted between the monster's legs. The curtain was now just ahead of her. As the ogre turned, she straddled the curtain and stood racing it. But other ogre were appearing. 2 converged on the lady from either side of the curtain. Clip charged to help her, but that permitted the first ogre to converge also. As the two pounced, the lady spelled herself across the curtain, holding her breath. The ogres crashed into each other where she had been. Style could not see her in the image. It was difficult to see across the curtain anyway, and the holo pickup was oriented on the fantasy side. But he knew she was in extreme discomfort, with the thin, polluted air of Proton and the barren terrain. But in a moment she reappeared, just beyond the brutes. She had avoided them by using the curtain. Clip spied her and rushed to join her again. Two more ogres came into view. The five lumbered down upon the woman and unicorn. Clip launched himself at the closest, lowering his horn, skewering the monster through the center. The ogre was so heavy the unicorn could not lift it. Clip had to back away, extricating his horn, shaking the monster's blood from it. But the ogre was mortally wounded. Brown pus welled from the wound, front and back, and the creature staggered and fell with a crash like that of an uprooted tree. Meanwhile, the remaining creatures had reconverged on the lady. "Here to me, Hin Blue," she called, and stepped back across the curtain. "Aren't we there yet?" Style demanded. "She can't hold out much longer." "Sir, there seems to be a power interruption," Sheen said. "This passage needs repair. We must detour." "How long?" Style cried. "Another 15 minutes, sir, I fear." Style clapped his hands to his head in non-physical pain. My lady! My lady!" "I love her too, sir," Sheen murmured. Style could only watch the unfolding sequence helplessly. He should never have left the Lady Blue so lightly guarded. The lady reappeared beyond the ogres as Hin Blue arrived. "Now you can catch me not," she cried, vaulting onto her steed. The four ogres nevertheless started after her. Clip raced to join Hin Blue. But as they moved out, readily outdistancing the monsters, a small ravine appeared ahead. "Watch out!" Style cried. Too late. The distracted horse put a foot in it. Instantly, Hin Blue went down, and the lady flew off and forward. Athlete that she was, she landed on her feet, running and unhurt. But Hin Blue was hurt. She got to her feet, but she was bruised and lame. She could only hobble, not run. The ogres were closing in again. Clip assumed man form. "Lady, ride me. The mare cannot carry thee." "Oh no," Style breathed. "I know what she will say." "And desert my horse, offspring of the Hinny and the Blue Stallion?" the Lady Blue demanded. "Never!" "She said it," Style said, suffering. "Then must we guard her," Clip said. He became unicorn again and stood facing the four onrushing brutes. They were no longer astride the curtain. The lady could not use it to save herself, and in any event would not have left her horse. She drew a narrow, sharp knife and stood beside Clip, ready to fight. The monsters came, but slowed. They had seen the fate of the first one to encounter the unicorn's horn. Still, they were 4 against 2, and towered over their opposition. A hole opened in the ground. An ugly head poked out, swathed in bandages. For an instant, Style thought yet another monster had joined the attack. But then he realized it was Truel the Troll, the one who had helped them escape the Orange Demesne. "Here!" the troll croaked. The lady recognized him. She was evidently uncertain of the creature's motive. Her adept husband was no longer with her, and trolls liked human flesh. "Escape!" Truel said, indicating his tunnel. He was offering a route out of the trap. "I thank thee, Truel," the lady said, "but my steed fits not in thy tunnel." The troll opened up another section of turf, and another one. There was a shallow cave there. "This crisis was anticipated," he said, his voice becoming clearer, as if long-disused faculty was being revived. "I labored to prepare." The ogres were now very close. The lady decided to risk the help of the troll. Without further protest, she led Hinblue into the cave, then stood at the entrance with her knife poised. The ogres, outraged at this seeming escape, charged into the gully. But Clip charged too. His deadly horn punctured another ogre, this time from the side. The ogre fell, squirting its brown juice, and again the others hesitated. There were only 3 of them now, and they evidently did not like dying. If any 2 of them pounced on Clip together, they could have torn the unicorn apart, but they evidently lacked the wit or courage to do that. They also seemed nervous about Truel, who was a monster somewhat like themselves, though only half as stout. Why was he participating? "That is Nesa's brother, sir?" Sheen asked. The fact that she was now using sir warned him that she was not sure they had complete privacy. "Yes, he's one good unicorn." "And ogres eat people?" "Yes. Trolls eat people too, and horses. But Truel can be trusted, I think." Finally, the ogres consulted, and came to the conclusion Style had feared. 2 of them stalked Clip together, while the third faced Truel, preventing the troll from interfering. Style realized an ogre should have been able to demolish a troll on open ground, but not within a troll's tunnels, so this was merely interference rather than combat. The Lady Blue had to stay with the horse she guarded. Clip had to fight alone. The unicorn could have changed into hawk form and flown away, but he did not. He charged again. His horns skewered the left ogre, but the right one brought a ham fist down on the unicorn's rump. Clip's hind section collapsed under the power of that blow. He was helpless, down on the ground, his hind legs possibly crippled, his horns still wedged in the left ogre's torso. Now the Lady Blue leaped forward, knife flashing. She sliced into the heavy arm of the right-hand ogre. Ichor welled out in a long slash, and the creature made a howl of pain. Now the 2 remaining monsters retreated, one holding. Clip changed back into hawk form, extricating himself, and the lady held out her arm for him to perch on. He seemed shaken, limping, but not seriously hurt. Style breathed a sigh of relief. The 2 returned to the impromptu cave. For a time, the ogre stayed back. Style relaxed somewhat. The longer they waited, the better his chance to get to phase and correct the situation before any more harm was done. The capsule was proceeding with what seemed to be tedious slowness, but he knew Sheen was doing her best. He decided he should divert his mind, as long as he could not act. "Place that call to the citizen," he said curtly, "but don't interfere with this image." "Yes, sir." Sheen placed the call. In a moment, the face of a well-fed, middle-aged male citizen appeared beside the image of the West Pole region. There were no surf or robot intermediaries this time. "Yes?" he inquired, peering at Style. "Calder, I'm Style," Style said briskly. He was rapidly shedding his apprehension about citizens. "I am not sure you know me." "I don't," Calder agreed brusquely. "But about 2 months ago, you gifted me with a humanoid robot. I was then a serf." Calder's face wrinkled in perplexity. "I did?" "This robot," Style said, indicating Sheen. Still, there was no recognition in the man's face. Was this a misidentification? Let me check my records," Calder said. In a moment, the citizen looked up. "I have it now. My staff handled it, without informing me. It was a routine protective measure." "Routine measure?" Style asked. "This is a 5-gram robot. Why would you give her to a serf employed by another citizen?" Calder's brow furrowed again. "That is peculiar, but I'm sure my chief of staff had reason. Let me see. Yes, here it is. We received news that the chief horse trainer and jockey of a rival stable was to be assassinated, and the blame attached to me. I have one of the finest stables on Proton." He said this matter-of-factly, and Style believed him. Citizens did not need to brag, and in his racing days he had come up against the entries of a number of excellent stables. He was probably familiar with Calder's horses. if he cared to spot research necessary to align the citizen's name with that of his stable. Since that would have been an unpleasant complication, my chief of staff arranged to protect you anonymously. After all, it might have been a practical joke, leading to my embarrassment. Why take the chance? You protected me to save yourself from being framed or embarrassed? Styles said slowly. No other reason? None. I had no concern for you personally. I was not even aware of the matter until you called it to my attention just now. I leave such details to my staff. That was some staff. But of course, Style had already discovered the caliber of staff a citizen could afford. How did your chief of staff know about this plot? Calder checked his records again. Anonymous message. That's why it could have been a joke. Was it? It was not, Style said. Your robot saved my life on more than one occasion. Now I will marry her. Calder burst out laughing. If her screws aren't loose, yours are. Be sure to invite me to the wedding. I'll gift you with a male diaper for your cyborg offspring. He faded out. A cyborg was a combination of flesh and machine, such as a robot with a grafted human brain, neither fish nor fowl. They generally did not last long. This was a cruel jibe, but Calder was not a bad type, as citizens went. The mystery remained. Who had sent the anonymous message to Calder's staff? The same party who sicked the Red Adept on you, perhaps, Sheen said, following his thought. And who may be fouling me up with changed oracle pronouncements, Style agreed. Now more of the pattern emerges. It could all stem from a single source. That is my true enemy. Why would an enemy arrange to have you protected? Why indeed? My circuitry is inadequate to solve that problem, she said, smiling briefly. And mine. Put your friends on that message to Calder. See if they can trace its source. Yes, sir. She made a coded call. Now something new was happening in phase. The scene had been still while the Lady Blue put lip and healed, restored his confidence. But Clip's ears, he was back in natural form, were perking forward, and he blew a brief, startled note. I see nothing, the lady said. What is it? Clip did not answer. His nostrils twitched. Obviously he heard and smelled something. Now, very faintly, Style heard it too. The tinkling of little bells. Why did that seem familiar? Then the source came into sight. It was another unicorn. This one was female and lovely. Her coat was a deep red, almost purple, and shone with sleek health. Her mane rippled iridescently. As she approached, she changed to an elegant blue heron, then to a cat, and finally back to equine form. Her bell rang again, sweetly. Clip's ears vibrated with amazement. He blew a querying note on his horn. The mare responded with a truly melodious tinkling of bells. What does she say? The Lady Blue asked nervously. Clip changed to man form. She says she was thrown out by her herd. She is all alone in the wilderness. She seems familiar. She and her brother danced at the Unolympics. They defeated Nasa and me for the prize. Now I remember. What a pretty corn she is. Aye, Clip agreed wistfully. But why would her herd cast her out after she brought them the prize? She refused to be bred by her herd stallion, who is getting old and violent, so he exiled her. Now she is without a herd. Can't she join another? Nay, the herd stallions interfere not in each other's herds. She is ostracized. The way Nasa was. That's terrible. Nasa was merely excluded for a time. Belle can never go back. The pretty mare tinkled her bell again. She asks if I will go with her, Clip said. It's a trap, Style said. Don't trust her. But the hollow pickup was too far from the present setting for them to hear him unless he shouted. Transmission was largely one way now. He did not want to shout and have the ogres know his situation. "How is it she shows up here now?" the lady inquired, evidently having a similar suspicion. But Clip, enchanted, changed back to equine form. As a lesser male, he was not permitted the chance to breed. This was obviously a phenomenal temptation. The mare nickered and rang a lovely melody on her bell horn. Clip quivered with eagerness. "I don't trust this at all," Style said. "Clip has defended my Lady Blue against the monsters. Suddenly, the loveliest mare unicorn in all the herds appears, luring him away." "All males are fools in this manner," Sheen remarked. "Clip, go not to her," the lady pleaded. "At least wait until my lord returns. It will not be long now." But Clip had lost control of himself. Evidently, the mare was in heat. He had to go to her. He fought the lure, but step by step he went. The Lady Blue had to remain in the cave, guarding herself in Hin Blue. She was not so foolish as to venture where the ogres could pounce. Now, at last, the capsule approached the curtain, but the capsule was below ground, under desert. Style could not step through at this level. "Get me to the surface! Anywhere by the curtain!" he snapped, in a fever of impatience to reach the West Pole. Sheen located a bus stop. Style got out and hurried up the stairs to the surface. "Keep things in order until my return," he called back. "Don't get yourself killed, sir," she said. Style didn't answer. He held his breath and burst out to the desert, running for the curtain. As he came upon its shimmer, he willed himself across and found himself running on the green plain of phase. Immediately he stopped, formulating a suitable spell in his mind while he played his harmonica to summon his power. Then he sang, "Convey me whole to the West Pole." The spell wrenched him from here to there, making him nauseous. It was never comfortable to work his magic on himself, and he avoided it except in emergencies. Feeling ill, he looked out from the West Pole. There was no sign of Clip the Unicorn. Style sang a flight spell he had in reserve, rose into the air, and zoomed toward the ravine and cave where the Lady Blue waited. The two ogres were there. As Style approached, one of them picked up the troll one-handed and hurled him high and away. Evidently, Troll had left the security of his tunnels and so fallen into the power of the more massive monsters. "Please freeze," Style sang, willing the interpretation of the spell. But though there was a faint effort of magic, the action did not stop. Then he remembered that he had already used the spell to freeze the sea monster of the translucent domain. No wonder it had lost its potency. "All will be still," he sang. This time, the tableau froze as intended. The two ogres became statues, along with their injured companion, who was licking his arm a short distance away. The troll hung motionless in the air. The very wind stopped, but Style himself continued. The Lady Blue stood in the cave, knife in hand, her lovely face frozen in grinning ferocity as she slashed at the nearest monster. Behind her stood Hin Blue, lame, but trying to move out and get in a good kick. Style made a subspell to free the lady only. "My lord," she exclaimed, breathlessly glad to see him. "Clip, he was lured away." "I saw," Style said. "First I must tend to thee and thy friends. Then will I quest after the unicorn." The lady was all right, though tired. It was no easy thing to stand up to an ogre with no more than a knife. Style made a spell to restore Hin Blue, whose injury had been beyond the lady's gentler healing power. Then he brought Troll sliding slowly down from midair. "A second time hast thou repaid my favor," Style said. "Now do I owe thee one." "Nay, Adept," Troll protested. It was prophesied that 3 times must I turn to free thee, and thine from hazard, ere the balance evens.
Then gladly do I accept this rescue of my lady, Styles said. But dost thou not know that the Blue Adept destroyed all thy tribe in fire?
As my tribe destroyed all thy village. Those scales are even, the debt is other.
Styles shrugged. Why shouldst thou be burdened, not me?
Because thou must save Faze.
Trool turned and shambled back into his tunnel, which extended darkly into the ground. Styles was amazed at the creature's facility in tunneling, but of course troll magic was involved. Then he noticed an object on the ground. He stooped, careful to pick it up, for his knees remained bad, able to bend only to right angles before pain began. Styles could use magic to move himself, but not to heal himself, so had to live with the condition. He picked up the object. It was a small figurine of a woman, quite well executed.
Who made this? Styles asked.
Trool, the lady replied. He appears clumsy, but his big hands have magic. When he is not tunneling, he turns that magic to sculpture to relieve his nervousness.
Facing 2 ogres? I can appreciate his concern.
Why did he step out to the land where they had power? To stop them from charging me, she said. Trolls are not my favorite creature, but Trool acted bravely and selflessly. If again we meet, I shall call him friend. Yet, if he is honoring a prophecy, I cannot reward him, Styles said. That might alter the meaning of his action and void the prophecy, causing mischief. True, she agreed soberly. Styles contemplated the figurine. This is thee, he exclaimed, surprised. She shrugged. He begged my leave. He works better when he has a subject. I saw no harm. Figurine magic could be potent, but the Red Adept had specialized in that, with her amulets, and she was gone. No harm, Styles agreed. He's a fine craftsman. This is as pretty a statuette as I've seen. We forget Clip, she reminded him, taking the statuette from him. In a moment. Now for these monsters. Styles conjured a cage around the 2, then unfroze them. They rattled the bars for several minutes before conceding they were effectively imprisoned. Then they were ready to listen to Styles. Know, ogres, that I am the Blue Adept, Styles said. This is my Lady Blue. Why did the 5 of you attack her?
Blue be now our enemy, one repeated.
The oracle told thee that.
Told Broguebutt.
Who is Broguebutt? The ogre pointed to one of the dead monsters. Then must I make the dead to speak, Styles said grimly. He pondered, working out a spell, then sang. Ogre Broguebutt, under my spell, the true message do thou tell. The dead ogre stirred. Flies buzzed up angrily. Its rigor-stiffened mouth cracked open.
Blue be not thine enemy,
it croaked, and lay still again. Not, the lady exclaimed. It said not. Both living ogres seemed surprised.
Broguebutt told us now.
He thought the word was now. He was enchanted and heard or remembered it wrong. I am not thine enemy. Now thou knowest.
Now I know,
the ogre agreed, adapting dully to this new reality. Styles eliminated their cage. Go inform thy kind of the truth. They stomped away. Thou art as ever generous in victory, the lady said. Now for the unicorn. Styles made a spell that set Clip's hoofprints glowing, and they followed these. The trail led over a hill to a copse of evergreens and entered the dense forest island. Where are the mare's prints? The lady asked. Styles sang a new spell to make those also glow, but evoked nothing.
She was mere illusion, the lady said, ascending to distract him so the ogres could get to me. This surely means mischief. Had Trool not interfered? Style made another spell. Make an image, make it sooth, of the unicorn, of the truth. The image formed like a holograph, three-dimensional. Clip walked beside a phantom. The unreal mare led him to the copse, and there a flash occurred, and the unicorn was gone. Destroyed? The lady cried, appalled. I think not, Style said grimly. He tried a spell to locate Clip specifically, but it fizzled. This is adept magic. I cannot fathom the truth beyond this point, for it is adept against adept. But the message seems likely enough. Clip has been taken hostage. Hostage? She exclaimed. For what? For my behavior. My secret enemy cannot match my power directly, so he has resorted to another device. I must bargain with him for Clip's life. But what does that adept want? It seems I am to be involved in great events in the near future. Mine enemies know this. My friends know too. Everybody knows this, except me. What mine enemy wants will surely be made known in good time. But no one can influence thee by such means. Oh, yes, he can, Style scowled, feeling an elemental savagery. He can evoke my vengeance against him for whatever he does to Clip. He can make me an enemy for life. Now he is attacking my wife and steed in lieu of me, seeking leverage. Not without consequence may blue be thus used. She smiled sadly. The honeymoon is over. Soberly he nodded. I must report this to the herd stallion. And I shall be left behind again. Thou knowest I love thee, lady, but there are things I must do. I would not change thy nature if I could, my love. Abruptly, savagely, they kissed, their horror of the situation converting to passion. Then Style spelled them to the unicorn herd. They arrived at the edge of the pasture where the unicorns grazed. The great herd stallion looked up. He stood 18 hands at the shoulder, or 6 feet, and was powerfully muscled. His torso was pearly gray, darkening into black hooves. His mane and tail were silver, and his head golden. He was the most magnificent equine Style knew. Perceiving Style's mien, the stallion converted immediately to man form and approached. Speak without waste, Adept. Clip has been taken hostage, Style said. Then he choked and could not continue. Do thou go see Nasa, the Lady Blue told him gently. I will give the stallion the detail. Gratefully, Style walked through the herd, looking for his closest friend in phase. In a moment, Nasa came to him. She was fit and sleek, showing as yet no sign of her gravid condition. She had only very recently been bred, and equines did not show the way humans did. She accepted his embrace, shifting momentarily to girl form in his arms, in the mischievous way she had. Then she shifted back. Oh, Nasa, he said, feeling the tears on his face. I fear I have placed your brother in dire straits. She tensed, blowing a harmonica note of alarm. She loved her brother. I was in proton frame, he stumbled on. Ogres attacked the Lady Blue. Clip fought valiantly, protecting her, and killed 2 ogres. But an adept sent a sending of the mare called Belle, who won thine event at the Unolympics, and lured him into captivity, surely hostage against my power. And I cannot accept what that enemy may demand of me, though Clip is... The tears were flowing freely now, dropping from his chin. I should have been there. And perhaps, if he had checked Clip's situation first, instead of last, he might have been in time to nullify the abduction. He had just assumed that Clip was near. Nasa laid her warm horn against his cheek, suffering silently with him, forgiving him. She understood. They walked together back to the herd stallion. The noble creature was again in his natural form and had evidently assimilated the lady's story. He was stomping the turf with one forefoot, making sparks fly up, and steam was issuing from his nostrils. When Style rejoined him, the stallion changed again to man form, a wisp of steam still showing in his breath.
"Thou art not at fault, Adept," he said. "Clip was there to help and protect thee, not thou him."
"Protect me he did," Style said. "I owe him my life. But he lost his freedom protecting not me, but my lady. I must restore him to freedom and avenge what he is suffering."
"He is of my herd," the stallion said. "Ultimately, vengeance is mine, but thou art welcome to free him if thou canst."
"First, I must locate him," Style said, "and if thou canst permit it, I would take another unicorn as temporary steed. The forces ranged against me, for whatever reason, are more than I can safely cope with alone, and no horse suffices. I need the kind of service only a unicorn can give." The stallion hesitated. Nasa blew a faint note on her harmonica horn, half pleading, half warning. She was subject to the herd stallion, but friend to the Blue Adept, and to many others. She was close bloodkin to Clip. She wanted to be Styles' steed again, despite her condition. The stallion could say nay or yea and would be obeyed, but his life would be simplified if he placated this spirited little mare. Style had a certain sympathy for the herd stallion's predicament.
"I will provide thee with another unicorn,"
the stallion decided.
"Thou art held in unusual respect in this herd, Adept. A number of these would do for thee what they would not do for any ordinary man. Yet may I not compel any in this matter. Give me time to seek a volunteer."
The stallion seemed less urgent about this than Style felt, and was obliquely refusing Nasa's offer. Yet it was a sensible course. "It will take time to locate Clip and prepare a campaign to recover him without injury," Style said. "Adept magic is involved, making the matter devious, not subject to simple spells. I do not relish his captivity for even another hour, but it would be foolish to strike unprepared. Will a day and a night suffice? I do have business in the other frame."
"It will suffice,"
the stallion agreed.
"I shall query the animals of other kinds and send to the oracle."
The oracle, of course. That would pinpoint Clip instantly, if the answer were not misunderstood. Except, what about the speculation the translucent Adept had made about the oracle? Maybe he should be careful of any advice received without openly challenging its validity. Style turned to the Lady Blue. "Now must I return thee to the Blue Demesne for safekeeping." Again, Nasa protested. The herd stallion, shifting to natural form, blew an accordion chord of irritated acquiescence. "I have been invited to visit with the herd during thine absence," the lady said. "I can be better guarded here, for no magic penetrates a herd on guard. By thy leave, my lord." "I will make thee a pavilion," Style said, pleased. "You would be much safer here, certainly." "I need it not, my lord." Style nodded. The Lady Blue was no frail flower. She could survive well enough. "Then shall I—" He paused, and the unicorns looked up from their grazing. A dragon was approaching, a huge flying creature, swooping up and down, evidently searching for something. It spied the herd and flew directly toward it. Immediately the unicorns formed a circle, horns pointing out. In the center were the foals and the aged individuals, and Nasa, specially protected during her gestation. The herd stallion stood outside, flanked by several of the strongest of the lesser males, facing the monster alertly. I can deal with this, Style offered. He had a number of spells to bring down dragons. But the dragon was not attacking. It was a steed with an old woman holding the reins, perched between the great beating wings. She carried a white kerchief that she waved in her left hand. Flag of truce, Style said. Then with a double take. That's the Yellow Adept! The herd stallion snorted angrily. He would honor the truce, but he had no love for the Yellow Adept, whose business it was to trap and sell animals, including unicorns. The dragon landed with a bump that made its passenger bounce, then folded its wings. The old woman scrambled down.
I bear a message for Blue. It must be quick, for my potion cannot hold this monster long.
Style stepped forward, still surprised. Usually this witch only went out in public after taking a youth potion for cosmetic effect. What message would cause her to scramble like this? I am here, Yellow.
It is in the form of a package, my handsome, she said, handing him a long box that appeared from her shawl.
Style suddenly became conscious of his own apparel, the outfit of a Proton citizen. In the rush of events, he had not bothered to conjure phase clothing, but it hardly mattered. An adept, like a citizen, could wear what he pleased.
I want thee to know I had no hand in this particular mischief. The item was delivered by conjuration with the message, Blue but out. I hastened to bring it to thee, fearing further malice against thee if I delayed. My potions indicate that more than one adept participates in this.
She hurried back to her dragon steed before Style could open the package. Wait, Yellow! I may wish to question thee about this, Style called. Something about the package gave him an extremely ugly premonition.
I dare not stay, she called back. I would help thee if I could, Blue, for thou art a bonny lad, but I cannot.
She spurred her dragon forward. The creature spread its wings and taxied along on 6 little legs, finally getting up to take off velocity. Once it was airborne, it was much more graceful. Soon it was flying high and away. Style unwrapped the package with a certain misgiving. It surely did not contain anything he would be glad to see. Probably it was from Clip's captor. Some evidence that the unicorn was indeed hostage, such as a hank of his blue mane. As the package unwrapped, 2 red socks fell out. Clip's socks, which could be magically removed and used separately, in the same manner as Nesa's white socks. But there was something else in the package. Style unwrapped it and froze, appalled. All the others stared, not at first believing it. It was a severed unicorn horn. Style's hands began to shake. He heard the Lady Blue's quick intake of breath. Nesa blew a note of purest agony. Slowly, Style lifted the horn to his mouth. He blew into the hollow base. The sound of an ill-played saxophone emerged. It was definitely Clip's horn. Nesa fell to the ground as if struck by lightning. The Lady Blue dropped down beside her, putting her arms around the unicorn's neck in a futile attempt to console her. Style stood stiffly, his mind half numbed by the horror of it. To a unicorn, the horn was everything, the mark that distinguished him from the mere horse. More than that, he realized, the horn was the seat of the unicorn's magic. Without it, Clip could not change form or resist hostile spells. He would be like a man blinded and castrated, alive without joy. There could be no worse punishment. The herd stallion was back in man form. He put his large hand to take the horn. His eyes were blazing like the windows of a furnace, and steam was rising from him. "They dare," he rasped, staring at the member. "For this will I visit a conflagration on the demesne of every adept involved. Styles said, finding his voice at last. On every creature who cooperated. I will level mountains to get at them. What the blue adept did to the trolls and jackals will be as nothing. Already the air was becoming charged with the force of his developing oath. Dark coils of fog were swirling. Only let me make my music and find my rhyme. Nay, adept, the herd stallion said gruffly. He is of my herd. Not thine, but mine is this vengeance. But thou canst not leave thy herd unguarded, Style protested. Another stallion will assist for this occasion. And thou canst not face adepts alone. Only an adept can oppose an adept. The stallion snorted smoke from his human nostrils, heeding Styles' caution through his fury. True. Not alone can I accomplish it. Only half the vengeance is mine to claim. Just give me a steed and I will be thy steed, the stallion said. Nasa, on the ground, perked up her ears. The Lady Blue's eyes widened as she recognized the possibilities. No human being had ever ridden a herd stallion, virtually a breed apart. Yet if the power of an adept coordinated with that of a unicorn stallion, Style could not decline. They shared a vengeance. And there we go, guys. Chapters 6 and 7 are in the books. If you happen to have missed any of them, they will be posted up onto YouTube by later tonight. Joy in general, I don't think you could have put it better. Poor clip. I mean, Adept's just out to get him. So I'm thinking, as much as I can, the voice of Sean Connery for the herd stallion. What do you think? I'm kind of getting that way with the herd stallion. I mean, Sean Connery is no longer using this voice, so somebody may as well use it. We'll see how it goes. Well, thank you. Much appreciated. I enjoy these readings. I'm so glad I've gone to 2 days a week on these. For those of you guys who haven't seen it, I have 2 books lined up behind this one now, and I am actively looking for more. So if you happen to have anybody who is looking to have their book read live on stream, any authors, anything like that, please have them reach out to me. Tim@MaloneyVoiceover.com, or they can reach out to me on YouTube, on Twitch, my Discord channel, wherever, and we can work to arrange it. Like I said, right now I have 2 books after this ready to go. If I start to get more and more of them, then we may move from 2 story times to 3. We'll see how it goes. I'm liking these ones a lot more than I'm liking my gaming ones at the moment. So I hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Please make sure that you like and share these videos if you have anybody else who might be interested in them. I am definitely looking to grow my YouTube channel. Right now I have, I think, 155 subscribers on there. I'd love to exceed the 1,000 because then we get monetized. Hey, wouldn't that be nice? But even if not, just being able to grow it and share the books and share the messages and have fun together is what I'm looking to be able to do. So if you happen to know anybody who might be interested, have them reach out to me, share the messages out there to people, and we'll continue to grow together. And I couldn't do this without the support of all of you. And like I said, I love doing this. So thank you for being here. The greatest gift that you guys can give me is the gift of your time. And I appreciate that you guys gave me the gift of yours this evening, whether it was for 5 minutes or for 2.5 hours. So again, look for these to be up on the YouTube channel by a little bit later tonight. And then we will be back on Tuesday to start into Chapter 8, Wager. He must be back in Proton. Very well said, Joy in General. Very well said. We all have to start somewhere. I hope you guys all have a fantastic, wonderful rest of your weekend. If you are blessed with a long weekend this weekend, as I am, enjoy your long weekend as well. And I will look to see all of you guys again next week. Have a great night, everybody, and a fantastic weekend.